Okay, so in this video we are going to review how to graph lines. So the objective is to graph linear functions. Okay, so graphing linear functions, and we'll call this P2, chapter P preview before we actually get into the Math 2 textbook. Okay, so we'll spend at least 2 weeks reviewing linear functions. All right, so P.2 is the section we're on. So let's start with the most familiar equation that you guys are familiar with, which is the slope-intercept. Okay, slope-intercept is this equation right here. Y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, so there's a lot of information on the y equals mx plus b slope-intercept, right? The most important thing that you need to know, right, is that m is your slope, and it's defined as rise over run, and b is called your y-intercept. Now that name sounds very fancy, right? Y-intercept, it just means where the graph hits the y-axis. So if I have a line right here, if I say point to me where the y-intercept is, you would say it's right here. You would say that's 0, comma b. Okay, and the way you want to think about this is, the way you want to think about graphing a slope-intercept form equation is you want to, I guess I'll call it steps here. Step 1, okay? Steps to graph. Number 1 is you want to plot your y-intercept, right? And then number 2, do a rise over run. Okay, do a rise over run from the y-intercept. All right, so a little review on this equation, slope-intercept form. Okay, so the next form that we're going to review is called the point slope form. Okay, so you won't see point slope that much today, but I figure I'd just point it and mention it out here. And before I give you the point slope, right, recall that your slope is basically change in y over change in x, right? Or y2 minus y. This is your slope formula. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cross multiply. Okay, so if I cross multiply, I'm going to get y2 minus y1 is equal to m times x2 minus x1. And what happens is that these 2's on the subscripts right here, they disappear. And this is essentially your point slope equation. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Okay, so there's your point slope, there's your slope-intercept. And the very last form that we're going to cover is called standard form. Standard form. So standard form is something like this. Ax plus by is equal to c. Now, a, b, and c are integers, okay? Are integers. And what are integers? Integers are those nice counting numbers, okay? -3, -2, ... -1, ... and 1, 2, comma 3, okay? 1, comma 2, comma 3. So in this case, a and b are non-zero, okay? A and b cannot equal 0, but they are integers excluding 0. Okay, so I'll talk about standard form. Basically, you have an x and a y on one side, and then you have a constant on another side. Okay, so these are the 3 forms that you guys are going to be asked to use when you graph. Okay, and we'll cover point slope in a future lesson, but for this particular lesson, all you need to be familiar with primarily is standard form and slope-intercept.